welcome to another Saturday morning live. I am Porcelain Piggy, and over here I have my co-host.
Mighty Max Toys joining you from a overcast California, but soon will get sunny. It is starting to get hot, and to be honest, I'm looking forward to the summer. There's a lot of things going on. I put up some pre-orders, a huge one, the biggest pre-order ever. Not really. And I can't wait to talk to you about it. But today we have something more special. Who cares about that? Forget about X-Men. Forget about my pre-ordering a Hot Wheels X Optimus Prime
Transformers collapsing.
Let's forget about that, and let's focus today on our special guest. But before we bring him on, okay, let's just go ahead and preface by saying this, that the goal is to get to know an independent artist, feature their work, and hopefully, if Killer Carp is listening, getting this ultimate collab of Beast Madness X Beast Battle Beast Redux Inertia next year. But with that said, welcome. How are you?
Good. Hi. Thank you so much for having me. This is great. So excited to be here. Toy tangents.
No. You are the third or fourth guest we've had as we're changing venue from just doing it on Instagram, because that's where we started, to do it on our YouTube.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for being here and agreeing to participate.
No, thank you.
Now,
I loved your Killer Carp interview. That was really fun. I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
It was one of our bests too. He was here back to back, and it's because we have that in. It's all part of the master plan. Okay, it's because we have that in, because we've had him on the show, that we can kind of nudge him to be like, hey, by the way, there are more battle beasts out there than the ones that you currently know, and this is where you come in. So Battle Beast Redux, introduce yourself for the show, please, if you will.
Yeah, my name is Gary. I'm at Battle Beast Redux on Instagram. Battle Beast Redux is kind of like a side project, or like a hobby, a passion project of mine, where I kind of create custom battle beasts of animals that haven't been done from the original line. And it's kind of something that's been on my mind since I was a little kid, and I used to play with these toys. So with the technology we have today, with 3D printing and resin printing, it's made it a little bit more possible for someone like myself to kind of design these figures. And so just really excited to be able to do that now. It's been fun. I've been really enjoying meeting people and talking battle beasts with folks like yourself. And yeah, it's been a great experience so far.
Wonderful. And we honestly discovered your account by going into the deep dive of Battle Beasts, because I know Battle Beasts are such a limited group of figures, and you're kind of giving us an expansion pack.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the idea of to kind of continuing, like reimagining if the line didn't end with when it did back in the 80s, if it did continue, and if it was more popular, what would the studios or the manufacturers have done, what kind of animals would have been cool to see. And so that's kind of where that project started from.
Yeah, we have like such a wide animal kingdom, and we continue to discover different kinds of animals. I'm like, it could be a never-ending universe. And if we take it back to like the Transformers correlation to Battle Beasts, they have an entire planet.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you're right. And that's one of the things that I really love. My background is animal biology, like zoology and all that.
Oh yeah, I'm a bio major too.
Really? Oh, that's awesome. So
yeah. I was a bio major in undergrad.
That's awesome. So like when it comes to that, we see so many different animals, and when it comes to battle beasts, I'm like, okay, you know what? Lions, bats, giraffes, they're cool, but what about the numbat? What about the Hyrax? What about all of these other animals that on their own they're so absolutely cool. So I can definitely see the inspo.
Yeah. I think out of the 76 original figures, they did a pretty good job reaching out to animals that you don't usually see, like sloth or pangolin. Those are pretty unique animals that you don't usually see it. And so I thought they did a really good, but like you said, the earth is huge. We have so many organisms, so many untapped areas. So you let your imagination kind of run, as I did as a kid, it can go pretty far, and you can get pretty creative with the species.
Yeah, and I do have a question. Wait. What was your which were some of the battles? Sorry, I have a lot of questions.
Oh, I know you have.
So, what were some of the battle beasts you had as a kid, and which one was like your favorite?
The funny thing is, I actually didn't own my first battle beast until I was a young man. I've loved them since I was a kid, but I'm a kid of the 80s. Back then there's no internet. And so I think the first time I saw them was at a friend's house, and I didn't know what they were. I thought these were the coolest things. He had a few of them. I remember I wrote this, and that's like a little bio in the back of my figures of the packaging, is that I remember holding rubberneck giraffe in my hand and just going, what is this thing? But of course, at age 6, you go home from your friend's house, you don't know what to do with that. There's no internet, there's nothing to look up. And so I never even saw another battle beast until I was like 10 or 12 at my cousin's house when I moved to California. And then by then, that was a time when Ninja Turtles were in, Transformers were in, and that was the hot thing. So I never saw Battle Beast toys at the toy store because they were already probably gone from the stores at that time. So I never really owned one until I found eBay and learning to buy things off eBay when I was growing up. So that was my first figures, was when I was like in my early 20s. That was like when I rediscovered Battle Beast again, and realized there's the internet and there's all these things out there. And that's when I first got my first set of figures. And, in terms of favorites, it's so hard. There's so many great ones. I know when I first was buying them, I really wanted to get the pangolin. I like the sloth a lot. The bat was awesome. So those are some of the designs. Yep. And I know you love it though. I know your campaign for the toad is legendary. Yeah. Every design is really well done, and I thought just really creative. And so those are some of the early ones that I got. So yeah.
It's really cool to hear that, because we're also children from the 80s, and Porcelain Piggy had something like that when it comes to Furbies. And it wasn't until we discovered eBay that I remember the first box. I bought it for her, actually. It was like maybe 6 or 7 Furbies in this giant lot, because again, we saw them early on, but we just couldn't afford them. We lived abroad. So
you're right.
Availability was non-existent. And
and back then the toys are gone from the stores.
Yeah, they were gone forever. I remember when we first came to the US, my very first Furby actually came from like a Rite Aid store, because we walked in. I guess somebody had returned it because it didn't work, and it was just back on the shelf. And I bought it from that one Rite Aid. It was only one. And then later on, when we discovered eBay, Max bought me my very first working Furbies.
Wow! He started an obsession.
And you know what?
You haven't seen it all.
It's cool to see that it's the same kind of story with Battle Beast, because and Battle Beast being so small, right? They can almost seem, for a kid, to be like that disposable toy, the thing that you played with, and then later on you forget about it, and it's fine that they get lost or they get chewed, buried, destroyed, whatever it is, because again, they're so small, and they're like, oh yeah, the kids don't really gonna value it all that much. But looking back, when you put them all together, right, and you look at the amount of detail, the amount of love that went into them, you're like, wow, this is a really great toy line. And their size shouldn't be their defining feature, is rather all the love and detail. And that's what I'm seeing with your designs too. Your designs have that same love, that same care, like to each little feature, like the textures, the armor bits. It's so cool. And don't worry.
This is I am a fan, and so these toys were designed by a Battle Beast fan, and So, like one of the key components of when I was designing these figures was I really wanted to make it as consistent as I could with the original line. That goes with the sizing, the details, even the textures of the, like you said, the textures of the animal and the textures of the armor, even the designs and the little intricate details on the armor. I really took a lot of inspiration from the original line, and the key was to try to keep it as consistent as possible, as if Hasbro or Takara continued with another series. And I kind of in quotes I put it, this is my series 5, 6, and 7, because it's a continuation of what it was before. And so that really is the goal of what I was trying to accomplish when I designed these things. And yeah, you look at, it's got the square, the rope sign space right there, and the sizing was all kind of measured intentionally to mimic the original line. So I'm glad you guys can see the detail too. I had a lot of prototypes where I was wondering, is the detail too small? Is it too big? Is it showing up? So we had to try and play around with a lot of prototypes.
Now, these go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah, and then I saw that your account, battlebeastredux, on Instagram started out with these. Yep. So tell us a little bit about these, because you pretty much created the entire first 3 waves in pixelated art.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always kind of had a liking towards minimalist art, simplification of art, and pixel art is very similar to that. For example, we were talking X-Men earlier. The X-Men clothing designs are so iconic and symbolic that if I gave you 4 pixel colors and told you which X-Men was, you could probably identify, yellow, red, blue, you're going to start pointing to. So there's the artistic aspect of really capturing a design and minimalizing it to a point where you kind of tie into the aspect of the popularity of the actual character or figure, and also the shape of it. And so pixel art was kind of very interesting to me pretty early on. And my love of Battle Beast started again, I was creating a lot of pixel art, pixel figurines, and I was doing different properties like, Marvel Comics, DC Comics. I was doing Star Wars, a bunch of these. And if you look at, there's an old account I used to have, it's called Pixel Fig. It's on Instagram. You'll see a ton of these G.I. Joe designs of pixel characters. And it's only natural for me to say, hey, you know what? I've never done Battle Beast pixel figures, and I love Battle Beast. So one day I pulled up the image of a Pirate Lion and then created a pixel. I was like, yeah, this is possible. It's really fun doing it. And so I started there, and I started creating more and more of these original 76 designs. And there was a good response from the community. A lot of people did enjoy them. So I started doing that. And that's what you see here is the 3 series. I did all 3 series with their weapons, and that was really fun. And from there, that's where I thought, I had a ton of designs I did as a little kid when I was imagining future custom battle beasts of other animals. And I remember, and I don't have all the art with me, but I had some of them I did on, MS Paint as a younger kid. And I looked those up, and I was like, hey, I could create. And, the good thing about pixels is it's a lot easier to create than to draw it, and it was a lot faster for me. And so I was able to crank out these custom battle beast designs, and I thought, they look really cool. It's just a real quick way for me to get my designs and ideas out there to see what it looks like and kind of see how the colors match with the armor, what looks good, because there's an aesthetic aspect I really want to keep in line with the original toy line too. So that's kind of where it started. And so these designs here for the 3 series were what I did for the Battle Beast property with Pixel Fig. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. It really ignited my love of this toy line since I was a little kid.
Now, when you were doing these, because I imagine this was, again, something like, I'm going to make a pixel thing, right? I'm going to make a pixel design. But then when you start making them, I think you start kind of dissecting the original aesthetic design of these characters, because you start seeing the ratio of colors, like between them, right? Because that's part of the success when it comes to the line, even though it may not have been intentional when they were first created. When you put them all like this, you start realizing that there is a lot of color matching. There is a lot of high contrast. There's a lot of designs. Very few of them skew past that one, and when it does, it never feels like it's too much. So, did you feel like going through this was very much a color study, a design study, a shape study that kind of finally gave you the confidence to say, "Hey, I think having everything that I just learned from doing this over time, I can actually make my beast as close to this as possible."
Absolutely. I think you really nailed it. I think when I first discovered Battle Beast, again, the internet was available, and so I started. I didn't know there were that many animals that they did, because as a kid you only saw like 5 or 6. I didn't know it was that many, and so through websites like beastformers.org, and like shout out to White Rabbit who mans that website. There's so much information and just so many beautiful photos for me to look at, because I didn't really own any at the time. And so I was heavily relying on these images on that website to look at these figures when I did these. And you're absolutely correct. When you start doing them, you start seeing patterns and cadences. And the toy line didn't really have it wasn't extremely big or popular. It didn't really have a TV show or long line of figures or anything like that. So it was very limited in what kind of content we had. But what the cool thing was, when you start drawing these and looking into these, you're absolutely correct. You start seeing a lot of patterns, a lot of consistencies. There's a set of kind of like a rules that these figures all follow.
Yeah.
Size, they're all about 2 inches tall. They all have, if they have a weapon on missing a hand, it's always on the left hand. Most of them, some of them have 2 hands, some of them have 1 hand, but it's always the left hand that's always got the weapon. And none of them are wearing shoes. Everyone's got, which is different from the Series 4 Laser Beasts, which they had boots or whatever those are called. But, these are not, they're kind of running around barefoot. And also the colors of the eyes, there's a consistency there. And the color schemes, absolutely. There's a really cool color combination that they have. And so you start noticing a lot of these details when I did this. So it was very much a design color study. And it definitely had an impact on how I design my figures and the colors that I chose for them. But then again, when I create my figures, they come out kind of unpainted. I'm not a painter, so I don't want to mess people's. So a lot of these folks that buy these figures, they kind of do their own painting. And it's amazing, and I've seen extremely cool color combinations that people have done. I was like, oh, that's a great idea. I never really thought of that combination. It looks great. And so that's the fun part about seeing other people adding their own flair onto a figure that I customize, and so seeing how other people paint it and stuff like that. And it's very much a study of design, color, and shape for these figures.
That's actually very cool. And because there are some that have less contrast than others, like the rabbit or mole, but because there's so few, when you have this, they almost look special, because they're like, oh, the contrast is it's minimal, like the colors kind of like blend to each other. Like with mole, it's just like that red that just stands out. It's super cool. And the other thing is
like
that,
for example, the toad.
Toad.
Yeah, the toad, he's a green and red, right? Those are very the colors are on the color wheel. They're complementary of each other, and it just pops, and that's some of them definitely do pop. The color combinations are great, and other ones, you're right, some are a little bit muted, and I really kind of like that kind of that variety that they have there. And it's cool just seeing. And it's too bad, like, this toy line is pretty old, so I don't know if we'll ever get to hear or get an interview of somebody who actually designed these toys. So I don't know if that's even possible at this state, but I would have loved to have known what the designer was thinking when they chose the colors, or what they were thinking when they chose the animal itself. What was your criteria? Because if you look at it, it's really hard to see kind of a pattern. I mean, for the first, at least for the first 76, you only have one a spider, and you don't see any other like arthropods or insects in there as well. It's kind of I mean, the crab is arthropod, but like, for example, like insects, you don't see any insects in here at all until you see Series 4. And I was like, oh, I wonder why they they chose that? You know, what was the decision making in that too? And so it'd be really cool to kind of pick the brain of one of the designers who did this, but I don't know. We'll see if that ever happens.
Yeah,
That'd be really cool. I haven't really looked into to see if maybe there's like even like a book where they have any interviews with them or something about the creators. I'm sure that there must be. Oh, I'm so sorry. But Pee Wee just said, did someone say Toad? I have to highlight this because yes, the not stands.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Toad
wish there
won the
would be like
championship.
Last
You won
year,
2 games ago, right? Last year. Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember the Toad campaign. That was really funny. That was great.
Yeah, this is where the actual campaign was born.
Yeah, that's awesome.
One of my homeworks moving forward will be looking for those like interviews or something. There must be something tangible about it. I know there has to be something.
And you know,
yeah,
the other thing is,
it's been so long. You know,
Right.
I think a lot of the designers are probably from Japan and Takara back in the days. And you know, I'm not a historian on this toy line, but that'd be really awesome to get that information. That's something, as for me, someone who kind of custom designs, I would love to hear what the original designers were thinking and the choices that they made.
Right. It would be so
Now,
good. So one of the other things we added here, sorry,
Uh-huh.
it was your design. So you shows that you first go to your digital render, then your pixel design, and then your figure design. So you do put a lot of work into creating them into figures because your original design gets changed a lot all the way to match the design of the actual figure.
Yeah, that's true. I think it goes through a kind of a process. You know, the pixel designs are early, quick, fun kind of thing that I throw out there, and then there's quite a few decisions that I make before I pick a design to make it into an actual figure. You know, I've only done 3, 4 on my 5th one now, but yeah, there definitely are. There's a process. You know, when I like, for example, that quail that you have up right now, the original MS Paint design that I made was back in 06, and there was no thought of it ever becoming a real figure at the time. I just did it because I just wanted to see what a quail would look like as a figure. And from then on, I went into the pixel design to kind of sharpen it up. And then if I do want to go through the road of actually making a physical figure, there's a lot of considerations that go into it. Something that looks cool on paper or on digital art might be really hard to translate into a physical figure, but also the limitations that are there for 3D printing and design. So there's a lot of things that you have to kind of consider before moving forward. So it does change a little bit. It shifts a little bit. I try my best to stick with the theme and the look of it, but it definitely does there are adjustments made before it becomes an actual figure.
Now, I did want to make, okay, there's a number of points. This slide just brings so much to the table. Okay. Number one, I feel like there is something here that is very much untapped in the sense of it's a loophole, if you will. If you listen to our interview with Killer Carp, we asked him, what about Laserbeast? How come he doesn't consider Laserbeast as contestants for the Beast Madness? And his answer famously is, well, because they have lasers, and that would be unfair. But one of the things that we've done here is like you've kind of gone from like a Laserbeast design, pixel design to a Battle Beast prop, right? So
yeah,
I'm just imagining here, what if you can take all the Laserbeast and do this process that you did right here to bring them to
kind of like speaking my music here.
Exactly, to bring him back into that original Battle Beast kind of aesthetic format, right? Because they technically
I'm
right?
geeking out because I think one of the biggest it's not a huge, I do enjoy the Battle Beast designs. I do enjoy the animals that they chose, but part of me wishes in an alternate reality that Series 4 stuck with the consistency that we saw in 1 through 3. And that's not to slight any of the Laserbeast fans out there, but honestly, for me, I'm really a big stickler on consistency. So I would have loved to see all the animals in Series 4 been made into the Series 3 shape and design. So
Yeah.
Yeah, you're really good with details. You really are a biologist. But if you see that design, I did start off with making everything laser beasts early on because I kind of enjoyed that orb when I was younger. But as I got older, maybe it's just the age thing, but I started really loving the old school look of the Series 1 through 3. And so I did transition over. And one of the things in my head was always been to imagine all the Series 4 figures and translating them into a Series 1 through 3 design, while keeping consistent with the animal color and the basic shape of the armor. And that's a project it's in my head too. And you are definitely speaking my language when you say stuff like that. But that is I would have loved to see that. I thought that would have been cool to see Series 4 translated into a Series 1 through 3 design. So yeah, absolutely. And some of the animals they chose, I love some of those animals that they decided on. They're so unique and creative. And there are some copies, there are some redundancy in certain animals and from the 1 through 3. But one day maybe if I, there's always so many ideas and so many limitations on time and resources. But I would have loved to see Series 4 translated into 1 through 3 designs. That would have been amazing. And then given unique weapons that aren't laser guns, so that they can compete in the Beast Madness competition, right? So,
exactly. So
that would have been awesome.
I am driven by that. And so I wake up in the morning and I said, because they have lasers, and I just stare at my mirror like, what if they didn't have lasers? Would they be able to compete?
Yeah.
But the thing is that, your drawing was quite literally what really sparked that idea, because it's there's a good transition, and it kind of like it tells you like the animal can go through all this like different phases design. Now the other thing I want to ask you, I'm looking at the names here because in the past we've talked about Battle Beast and how their names are incredible. How long did it take you to come up with Quarrelsome Quail? That is awesome. That is
if you
beautiful.
Look at the original Series 1 through 3 names, they're pretty funny. Like some of them have the repetition of the first letter of the animal, and some are completely random, and so they get pretty grand. A lot of it is a translation from the Japanese name, or maybe it was just an attempt to come up with the name. So there is a little bit of loss in translation, but the for me, it's going down a list of adjectives, really just typing in adjectives to see what I think. A lot of times I look at the animal and say, oh, what kind of vibe is the animal giving me? And other times it's just like, geez, how many adjectives that start with Q? I got to look it down the source of the dictionary to look at what adjective to just see which one works, So it is fun. There's a lot of aspects of custom designing this project I really love. And one of them is finding a name that works for the figure. And some of the original lines have some of the craziest like names like pugnacious, like these are some of the words that I was like, I had to look up on diction. What does that even mean? And so and so it's like some of these words are pretty funny. Like they would pull out some of the most obscure adjectives that starts with a certain letter just to match it with the animal name. So the naming is fun too. That's another thing we could ask the original designer. How did you come up with these names? They're so unique and funny.
Like jolted jellyfish is so cool.
Yeah, soaring eagle. So good.
Like I feel like there's a lot of care and there's a lot of love, and this is the type of care and love that comes from actually studying them over time, right? And I feel like that's what it is.
I do appreciate you noticing that. There is this is definitely a person myself who's been obsessed with these things for quite a while, who's really read up on every article there is about them and then looked into. And I'm so glad that I've been able to find a community on Instagram and on Facebook of fellow fans who love this toy line too, because I'm learning a lot all the time. People are discovering new merchandise and toys. There's the historian side of this toy line where somebody's like really capturing the history of it and the details of that aspect. And there's people who are customizing incredible designs too, or kit bashing crazy designs that I'm loving too. And so a lot of aspects to this this toy line fan base that I really do appreciate. And just the other day, I forgot who somebody had posted something that they found what they bought, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. I didn't even know that existed. And more artwork showing up, or concept designs, or scrapped ideas, or those are all really cool things to find in our current generation.
Yeah, I didn't know they had
I
tanks.
saw like Killer Carp post that he's just watching a gumball-sized battle beast.
Yeah,
Of a neighbor. I was like,
yeah. There's so many different. Those the gumball size ones are really cool too. They capture a lot of design in an even smaller size. So, yeah, I've seen quite a few of those passed around. They're really impressive. I love seeing people with their incredible collections. I mean, you got an amazing collection behind you too, Mighty Max. But it's like just seeing photos of people's collections and everything. It's just like, wow, that's awesome. That's a fan right there. That's a person who put a lot of care and obsession in preserving their collection and completing their collection. So I definitely respect that.
Oh, thanks. It's honestly, it's one of those things that you do put a little care into it, but then you start looking at all the different figures that you buy, and then suddenly you realize that there's something a little bit more valuable when it comes to supporting creators and in their independent work. And right now we live in this renaissance of action figures, so you can actually decide I'm going to base my collection only on kind of commercial, mass produce toys like the X-Men, the Batmans, and all that, or you can just quite literally now build a collection just from independent creators, right? Which is very, very cool. If you go to all of the you have constant. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a really cool time. People with the technology we have today, you have folks customizing toys that are just so mind-blowing in the quality and the detail they're creating. And I'm constantly amazed at what I see on social media of people doing their own figures, and something like this wasn't really accessible or possible 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and the technology is constantly improving to the point where you can design and develop and create anything that you really want to, as long as you have the appropriate resources and the time, and so it's a pretty fun time that we're in right now, and I think it's only going to get better with tech as it improves. So if you asked me 5 years ago with what I'm doing now, I would be like, I don't know if that's possible, I don't know if that's even doable, but at now it's like, yeah, it is possible. And it's absolutely, my project is completely made possible by the fans that support the figures. Every next figure, the investment that goes into creating that next figure comes from the support that I get from the previous figure. So it's kind of like it builds, and it allows me to keep making new things and trying new things. And it's really cool to know that you are fueled by the support of folks who kind of appreciate or enjoy what you're doing. So that's kind of a really cool aspect for me as well.
Yeah.
And I do have a question, because I have been keeping an eye on your page. So how would some of the folks watching get one of your figures? How does that process go?
Yeah, I'm not I don't have it down too organized, but the honest thing is, when I release a new figure, when I say that it's ready, I'll just usually post it, and people will just message me. They'll just let me know they're interested, and that's really all it takes, And I've tried a few things where I try to just get the interest first and then order the amount. That way I know how many to order, because these 3D prints are done, and I need to know the quantity. But I've also tried one where I just order a set amount and just make those available too. So I've been kind of playing around with different methods just to see which one works best for folks. But the best way to get a figure like this would be just contact me. Currently, some of my older figures, I am kind of sold out on them. I don't have a lot of them left, but it just really depends on the figure. But if there's enough interest, I usually put out another order for more, and so that's kind of what I've been doing. Like the Badger was my first figure, and I think the first batch I created, I only created 20, and so those kind of went out pretty fast. So I had to do multiple orders just to get some more, and so it really depends on the interest. If there is enough interest, I'll drop another order just to get it, get to folks, and that's that really is the goal too. Is the idea of 3D printing makes it so accessible that I can get it to anyone who wants one, and then it's a lot easier to do it that way for me. So yeah, just reach out to me and we can chat and I can let you know what's available and what's not.
That's super cool. Now, you said the badger was the first one. Does the badger have a name?
Yeah, belligerent badger. Yeah, belligerent starts with a B, so it matches. Yeah. So that's
And then,
that's the first figure that I ever did.
And then I also have, you have the shark, which is the hammerhead shark, right? So
yes, slamming hammerhead. Yeah, that was the hammerhead shark was a design that was one of the first designs I had as a kid. I've always thought like, man, the shark is awesome. Sawtooth shark is a great battle beast, but a hammerhead would look pretty awesome too. And so I've been designing that thing for decades, like different concepts, and so happy to have finally been able to crank out a figure for the Slamming Hammerhead.
And I do want to mention that you also put so much care into the packaging. I was looking through your page and I was like, oh my gosh, even the packaging is so well designed.
Yeah, the packaging, the figures are one thing, but I really love a good packaging. And, especially in this fan base, there's a huge desire of collecting sometimes the card backs and the artwork and all merchandising coming from this line. So I designed the packaging to be as cool as it can be. It's not perfect like the other or legit packaging, but it's like what I can do. And so I include a little card of the figure that has the design of the figure, and it shows the different aspects of the card. And then there's the card back itself, which kind of in the back, I actually tell the story that I shared earlier about how I came to know what battle beasts were. And so yeah, I've gotten good feedback with the card back and the actual collector's card too that I include in each packaging. So I will continue to do that as long as people enjoy it too. Yeah, I think it's definitely a card here.
Let me see. Yeah, it's definitely a cool.
Yeah, these are some of the little collector's card that I created in each packaging. It's just a fun little thing to collect, and each one has one, and I think people do enjoy them. It's kind of fun. It kind of takes you back a little bit to what, when you collect the Ninja Turtle card backs in the back or something like that, or G.I. Joe, they're cool. So that's kind of like a fun little thing I did. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's stunning. I do wait before Mike gives you his question. I do have one more. So, what would one of these set us back if we really, really needed one in our collection? Because you put so much work and so much love into it. I just want to know what the price point would be.
Yeah, and I'm always trying to find ways to kind of lower. But currently, with the amount that's a bit, so currently these figures, they're going for like 35 plus shipping, and so it is pretty steep. I know that, and so I'm always looking for ways to try to cut costs and bring costs down a little bit. The good news is, I think for the next one with the clear snail, that I got a bunch of prototypes here, but like these guys, I will be lowering the price a little bit on these guys to try to help out collectors too. Because I know people work hard for the money, and I know. It's fun to collect, but I'm a fan too, and so I'm trying to find ways to bring down pricing. And so they're approximately like these three that up here, they were 35, and I'm still working on the pricing on this clear guy, but hopefully it will be lower. So this is the next guy coming out. It's a kind of a fun side thing for this line to have a clear figure,
Yeah. And I think 35 I think it's actually a fair price, considering I don't think about it as being steep. And I'm not the guy who has like a whole bunch of disposable income to like just throw away, but I just think it's a really good price.
Right.
For something that is custom, for something that is very much also supporting the next wave, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think, early on when I was deciding on how to approach in manufacturing and creating these figures, I looked into different things. I had contacts in China manufacturing, and I contacted them to see what's the pricing on creating a figure, how much does it cost, and all that. And it's crazy. No wonder big toy companies have to get involved in manufacturing toys, because the costs are super steep. It's those like to actually create figures that have the same kind of the rubbery texture of the original figures for the design and the mold making, all that stuff. To mass produce in China was quite expensive. It was like, and you'd have to order like thousands, thousands in order to make it worthwhile. And that was just a little bit outside of what I could do with as like a solo custom creator. I'm not a big corporation or company, and so there definitely a lot of education for myself and learning how the toy making process occurred. And for me, even though these figures, the material is a little bit different than the actual original figures, this was actually the most possible way financially that I could develop these figures. So I did consider different things out there, and there are folks that definitely do molding and casting with the urethane rubber that looks really cool too. But for me to be able to mass produce, like that picture of that snail you got up there, there's like I think 50 or so up there. To mass produce that many in that quick turnaround time, 3D printing really was the saving grace for me, and that really worked out for me. And so yeah, it does take a little bit of investment and time and money to kind of crank one of these out. And so that's kind of where we're at on the price range. So as things get more efficient and smoother, hopefully we can lower the price a little bit for folks.
Yeah, because what I'm seeing now is that we're kind of, how like Battle Beast, there was a first wave and it had so many of them, right? So like right now it's the creation of each independent character of a larger wave, right? Maybe in the future, crowdfunding or what it is, like when you're finally like done, it's like, oh, this is wave one, snail, hammerhead shark, badger, seagull. So it's like you can offer the whole set, right? And maybe in the future that would be something that's possible, right? Through crowdfunding, all that stuff. It's going to be pretty cool to see.
Right. And I think as I keep creating newer figures, I'm able to kind of do little smaller deals on the older figures. I think I've done a few smaller deals on, you buy 3 and lowers down to 30 a piece, and so those are all options that I do have because, at that point, I've been able to move on to the next figure with the finance I need to create. And so I'm able to lower pricing down a little bit for that. So yeah, you're right. When you're a big corporation, a big company, and you're investing hundreds of thousands, maybe millions on a toy line, you have the option of creating like millions of these figures. So the price point per figure is going to be a lot lower. And so when you're a single custom creator like myself, and the demand is, X amount of figures are sold for each one, you're not buying hundreds of thousands of these figures, or my wife would get so mad with all the storage of extra figures in the garage.
Like it's inventory.
Yeah, we know how that is, right?
Yeah.
And I do love that they still have the 2 points of articulation, which are the arms. I saw how like you can still kind of move them upwards. That's super duper cool.
Yeah. I think the articulation is I did, as I said before, intentionally try to keep it the same as the original figures. Thank God, the original figures only had 2 points articulation. The articulation is not easy to do, and so getting it right is hard. So I do appreciate how simple the original figures were, so that it makes it easy as a customizer trying to mimic them to be makes my job a lot easier. So I am glad for the articulation. But that was a point that I was really really focusing on to make sure that we did have that kind of articulation for these figures.
Now, can I ask about the snail? Okay.
Yeah.
No, I don't think anybody would have said, yeah, let's make a Battle Beast snail. Okay, I can definitely see Badger, because Badger, not only is it super cool, but it also has that meme, Badger don't care, right, type of thing. A hammerhead shark, it just makes sense. The guy has an extra weapon, and it's his head. It's super cool. Like a rattlesnake, there needs to be a counter to Cobra, right? Here in California, we don't have Cobras, but we certainly have rattlesnakes, which means that it is definitely necessary to have a representation of this, fearsome reptile. I get it. But what is the story behind Snail? quartz snail.
Yeah, I think when I first the snail design came pretty early on, but when I first announced that I was working on the snail, it was pretty funny. We had folks that were really excited to see the snail, and I think there were some folks even on Facebook that were saying the snail's not a beast; it's not an intimidating animal, and it's like it's funny, it's all cool. I appreciate all opinions on it, but I do think the design of the snail is awesome. Yeah, I'm a biology major. I study invertebrates and invertebrate biology. Snail's a cool design, and the ideas of one of the fun things is learning to how to adapt the animal into the figure because the snail has a shell, obviously, and that was kind of challenging to kind of say, okay, I do want a snail. I do want a shell on the snail. And how does that work on the actual figure? How can I make that work? Can I make it balance right? Will it fall over all the time? How do I shift the weight right? So that was a lot of prototyping to make that work. Got a lot of inspiration in studying the turtle Battle Beast because the turtle has a shell as well. And so I was really studying that to see how it made its balance, how the figure was standing to make sure it doesn't fall over. And so the idea of the snail is it's a fun design. It kind of challenged me a little bit in designing it. I do enjoy that. Of course, I love designing animals like the badger, which it's got two arms and it's got a head, and animals like the snail is a little bit more unique. There's a challenge there. My next figure is actually a jellyfish, which is very unique. Jellyfish doesn't even have like a body, or the whole thing is a body. And so how do you make a jellyfish work? And show you a I've never even released that prototype yet, but I'll show you here first just as exclusive. But here's the jellyfish prototype, which is kind of cool, and it's
nice.
How do you make the tentacles work and the arms and everything, and how does it hold a weapon? How do you a jellyfish doesn't really have legs.
Really hold a weapon.
Like animals, just like the snail doesn't really have legs in the sense of most animals, and so adapting that, what does it look like? And so those are challenges I do enjoy. And so the snail was kind of a fun thing to do as well. Exclusive, first time showing the jellyfish out there for folks to see right here on Toy Tangents. But yeah, the snail was I love the idea that all animals get a fair shot. I'm an animal lover. Like, if you study biology, you know the variety of animals. So I respect all animals. But then again, you do have, from the original line, you do have animals such as the seahorse, which is not really known to be a fierce or intimidating animal. And you have cute things like the mice and the rabbits. It's not really, in my opinion, in my world of Battle Beasts, it's not really fierce or intimidating animals. It's just all creatures, And if the design looks cool, if it's So you have a lot of different animals, and so. For me, it's like if the design is interesting, if it's kind of a challenge for me, I do find it, inspirational to kind of jump in there with that design. So that's kind of where the snail came from. It was a fun little design challenge for me as well, and I really learned a lot in making it. This was probably the hardest one out of the four that I did before, or the three that I did before. It was the most challenging, but I learned a lot. And I'm sure that knowledge will help me as I do other things too. So.
Now, let me talk, as you explained, snail, right? It's clear that you have transcended rap. And if you're not familiar with what rap is, I get teased with rap all the time. Literally in the chat right now, it's like Max is rap, because rap is real animal bias, right? And this is a term coined by Killer Corp, because it's like, no, like the essence of Battle Beasts is like, yes, they are, based on an animal, but they're not the animal, right? So it's just kind of like, I feel like when you create a character like Snail, then you're challenging that notion. It's like what a snail should be, and you transcend it and becomes a Battle Beast character, and that's what makes it so special, because it has that original DNA. Kind of like you were able to like quite literally bring it together, recreate that perfect DNA, because this right here, I feel like in Snail itself, this is where everything just kind of clicks and it comes together, and you're like, yes. You look at it like you're like, yes. The stalky eyes, the little like,
I think
that's
funny. The real animal bias thing is pretty funny because if you look at the original 76 and even the laser, the designs of the animals, they're pretty interesting in the sense that they do capture an essence of the actual animal. There are certain things that you just gotta have. If you're gonna have, I don't know, let me think, like a sloth. One of the main aspects of sloth are the claw. So you gotta kind of have that claw. Or if you're gonna have a turtle, it doesn't make sense if it didn't have a shell. So there's certain animal characters that you really want to capture, and that's another thing when designing these things. There's a balance between really trying to be accurate from a scientific aspect of what a snail looks like versus what does it look best in a design sense, and also what is practical in an actual figurine sense. The snail eyes, there's only a certain length I can go before they become brittle and start snapping off when I ship them. And so those are all things you have to take into consideration. You don't want 3D prints that are too narrow or thin, because there's a very easy damage aspect to that. And you look at all different interpretations of an animal. Like if you look at pictures of snails and you look at people's drawings of snails, like there's certain things they pull out of the real animal to capture. And like you're right, a snail with the two stalks of the eyes, shell, you give any small child, they're gonna like, that's a snail. They can pinpoint. That's really the goal, to create a design that's easily recognizable. Some of the original 76 had harder recognize. Like I didn't even know the polar bear was a polar bear for the longest time. It didn't look like a polar bear. I didn't even know what animal it was, until I got older. And some of the designs did kind of struggle with that. I'm trying to think of another animal that was hard to determine. Like weasel, had a big mask on his face, so you can't really tell what animal. But the goal of my design is really to capture certain key characteristics of the actual animal, so that when you look at it, you're like, yeah, that's a snail. Or if you look at it, if you didn't see the shell, maybe a slug. But you can easily pick out the animal pretty quick. And the badger, it's got that really characteristic black eye thing, so you can look at it, you're like, yeah, that's a badger. I can tell.
So cute.
So those are kind of design things that go into my head. Yeah, this is the artwork for the quartz snail that I'm going to be releasing.
I am now campaigning Snail 2025 Beast Madness. I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
Snail is adorable. It is an adorable
battle. Look at his cheeks.
Yeah.
There's so much to it.
Yeah. If you look at, I think on my page, there's a picture of the actual snail figure with the real live snails next to it. And
oh my god, I saw that with two little snails.
You saw that? If you scroll up a little or down a little bit,
this
right
one.
there. Yeah, it's kind of funny. Yeah, I got some garden snails on the side. They're kind of hanging out like his homies right there. So that was. Yeah, that's kind of fun to see the actual animal. I don't think any other designer of mine would ever be able to do this. I can't get a hammerhead shark anywhere, but for snails, at least I can get a snail next to the actual snail.
And with this picture also lets me know that this battle beast is quite literally 1-to-1. Like it's the real, like, so if you were to get everybody watching, if you buy a snail, you're going to have a snail that's the actual size of a true garden snail. Like it's 1-to-1 with the real animal counterpart, because pirate lion is the same size, but the lion is humongous, right? Giraffe, right. But this is the same size of the actual snail, which is
cool. Even like insects, like spiders, the figure is gonna be way bigger than your average spider size. So snails are very close in size, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's definitely very, very nice. We have here some of the custom paint jobs, I guess.
Yeah, this was painted by one of the folks who purchased my figures. They did a great job. I think I gave them credit in the description. But yeah, they this was the first time I actually saw snail get painted, because I'm really bad and I don't really have any skill in painting. So I usually get my figures painted by somebody. So I don't get it painted until much later, but this person actually painted themselves and did a great job. And this is kind of going back to what I was saying about color schemes. Like I didn't consider Rattlesnake to be blue and yellow, but he looks awesome. I got kind of that Serpentor look from G.I. Joe, kind of that theme going, and I love that. And the Hammerhead too. I always kind of imagined the Hammerhead as being turquoise colored since I was a kid, but seeing him gray with that nice purple armor looks awesome too. And this is kind of stuff I'm talking about when I see other people with their paint schemes and their ideas. And that's what I kind of love about the fact that that they're unpainted. I get to see a lot of different variety and approaches to it.
And when you come to observe the current, it's kind of like the current climate of collecting older lines like Masters of the Universe, Battle Beast 2, people hunt color variants and they treasure them above the standard colored ones. So, if this spider doesn't have the eyes color or they're a complete different color, it's completely more desirable. So having this be the color that the person who gets it kind of decides is also very special, because you're creating so many unique, palettes that maybe this year, the first year where they made, it's just, there it is. But as they are found, that they transition through time, right? They're gonna be like, oh my God, look at this. Remember, like this one was written. They can actually trace back to where it was. Now, if the person goes ahead and posts about it.
I got a couple folks like I think Julian Hernandez. He purchases quite a few of my figures, and he does his own custom paint colors on. Some of them are in line with my original color scheme, and some of them are his own. And those are awesome. I love what he does with them. I'm always excited to see his finished paint products, and they look great. I love the color schemes that he chooses. And I sometimes people ask me, oh, what's the original color scheme that you had? And I'm always a little bit hesitant. Obviously, it shows up on the packaging and the card, you'll see it. But I kind of want to see what you do too, because I really love what people do with their color schemes as well. And so, this is, I don't have the snail painted yet, but this is the original color scheme of my figure. This is what I imagine. But I always, and I tell people this, I always love seeing what they come up with too, because it's always so fun to see, and the ideas are awesome.
Yeah. And one of the things that I know, I've been reading a different couple papers this week, and they're arguing that the world is becoming monochromatic, like single colors, grays, black, whites.
I read that article too.
Yeah. So having the opportunity to bring color, and I think that also 3D printing, at the beginning being just grayscale, it kind of contributes to that. But then it's also an invitation, right? Like the invitation of a canvas to be like, I'm gonna create it. I'm gonna bring as much color as possible. Like we're gonna see a renaissance of color, and like in terms of toys, right? You're gonna see once again all of these different, striving, like starking blues, reds, yellows, because that's what people are craving at the moment. And having the
it's funny when sorry to cut you off, but I was one of the things that really reminded me of what you're talking about with color was when I watched X-Men 97. That just reminded me how colorful those costumes and designs were back in the day, in the 90s. And we lost so much of it with the X-Men movies when they went with like the black leather look, and you forgot how colorful and how much those costumes popped with the greens, the reds, the blues, and yellows. And when I saw that the season 1, I was like, that's right, they were so colorful and they really popped. And with my figures, they do come out initially as a gray kind of drab color, and that's mostly just because of the resin that I'm using, the combination of the resins. And so it is an invitation for folks who purchase it to kind of bring your own flair to it, bring your own color sensibility to what you think a snail should look like, what color works best for the snail. And it's really fun to see.
Yeah, to satisfy that kind of need to add a little bit of color to your life, to your collection, and as you see fit, which I think is a very important thing to do too. And so there's a bit of an interactive part to your, to your figures, which I really, really value, and I think it's really cool.
Yeah, and also when it comes to bringing. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to just say that even just bringing a little bit of accents into just plain items, you also have a Redbubble store where people can access the pixel version of your designs, correct?
That's
right. So the Redbubble store is just you can find a poster of the seasons 1 through 3 Battle Beast pixel designs. That's kind of fun. It's all together on a single poster. You can get stickers too of Battle Beast and Ninja Turtle. Yeah, I did Ninja Turtles too. Yeah, so these are just fun little things. That's the poster right there with all series 1 through 3. at the bottom there. But yeah, it's just a fun little thing. You can go in there and just see if there's anything that interests you. This was kind of a fun thing for my pixel project. So yeah, I got Power Rangers in there. I'm a kid of the 80s and 90s. I did enjoy Power Rangers back in the day. So yeah, the Redbubble store is always up. It's got stuff from the designs from back in the day. But yeah, if you are interested, just stop on by.
I gotta tell you, it's gonna be an easier way to collect the full Battle Beast, ensemble through stickers than through actual figures.
Yeah, it's a cheaper way to collect them all.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I'm still working on mine. I don't have all 76. I'm still working on mine little by little. So it's a fun little thing.
So I wanted to bring up, because I know a portion of people wanted to shout. I want to know what's the story behind Darting Hummingbird right here. And I know that we're out of time, type of deal. I get it, but I want to talk about this because I feel like.
Yeah, darting hummingbird is another one of those animals that you don't initially think of as intimidating, but it's a cool organism. And when I pick the animals that I want to do, I usually pick animals that kind of stand out a little bit more, that can be distinguished very easily. A hummingbird has certain characteristics that make it look very different from like your regular bird, And also the colors, I really chose the colors to really pop to. I really feel like the colors really define the animal as well. And so this was a design that I put together as kind of a challenge. I really want to bring more birds into my custom designs, because there were only a few in the original 3, but there's so many birds out there, and so like they're really cool, unique looking shapes and everything that really would fit well into a custom line. So the hummingbird is kind of a cool look too. And yeah, for this one, one of the things I've written about is I really love designing the weapons for these guys. And I really put a lot of it's a kind of a way for me to really customize. And I look into different anatomy aspects of the animal. You, as a biologist, you might appreciate this, but like the rattlesnake weapon was inspired from the rattle, a cross section of the rattlesnake's rattle, the shape of it. And so this hummingbird, actually, that weapon is inspired by the shape of the hummingbird's tongue, actually, the anatomy of it.
No way.
That's really fun for me to really kind of customize weapons in that sense. And I really enjoy the designing aspect of the weapon, because it lets me kind of go down a rabbit hole into learning about the animal too, And I know the original line, the weapons are sometimes influenced by the kind of animal, like the bulldog kind of has a cane, but mine are really, as a, I was a bio undergrad kind of guy, so I loved animals. And so I really look into the anatomy of the animal and kind of see how that kind of plays into it. So those are little fun little Easter eggs about the weapons of my figures.
That is so cool. And I think I know why Max brought up the hummingbird, not only because it is a really sick figure and a really cool design for something that's usually seen as something very delicate to be something super duper tough.
Yeah.
But also because this man down here loves parrots.
Yes, I knew.
And I know he was going to segue into a parrot request.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's there's a lot of different shapes of parrots that I like. The Laser Beast has a parrot already, but the macaw looks totally different from your typical parrot. It's got that, the feathers on the top of its head, and there's a lot of different. So yeah, I think birds. There's so much variety. It's a part of the animal kingdom that's super varied and really unique and adapted to different environments. So yeah, I think a macaw battle beast might be something that we can look into in the future. I'm always designing new things.
Cockatoo has a very cool.
Exactly, the cockatoo too. I think that's the bird I was actually mentioning. Yeah, but yeah, so I'm even though I've already done like series 5, 6, 7 designs in pixels, I'm always, if there's a new animal or new idea that kind of inspires me, like I'll just start sketching, and just go from there, see what happens, man. It's a hobby. It's fun thing, during.
Go ahead. Finish your thought.
I was like, I was doodling something down there.
I apologize.
He's drawing his design already. Yeah, like, during downtimes when I'm always I just need a pencil and a scrap piece of paper, and most of my designs on my battles are like drawn on scrap paper, where I eventually have to cut out, rip out, and put it in my wallet so I can bring home and work on it later. It's funny, most of my favorite designs are just drawn on work notebooks in a meeting or something, where I'm just like getting like, oh, that's really cool, and I'll rip it out and save it for later. So I get the most inspiration and get most excited with my designs during the most inopportune moments, when I'm not supposed to be drawing. And so that's kind of where I get most of my ideas and creativity from.
Now the design, because again, one of the things I love about having guests on this show is that it really helps us get in tune with something that we may not be in tune with every Saturday when we have the show, right? We talk about toys, we talk about shows, but every now and then there's some things that we just don't consider. And when somebody else brings something else to the table, we're like, oh, yes, this is so cool. So what about, this is my design, this is my pitch. I know that parrots is definitely easy for me to say, oh, it's a parrot. What about this one? Hermit crab, okay, that has cobbled together armors from different existing battle beasts. Like it has like the chest piece for like lion, or it's like it can have all of these different things. Because again, the hermit crab just kind of every time it beats somebody, it takes a piece of their armor. That'd be so cool.
Dude, that's like a General Grievous type of thing where he collects lightsabers, collecting armor pieces from. Yeah. Wow, you know what? That's the thing with Battle Beast. There really isn't a story from the toy line. We got a few comic books out of there, but there wasn't really an established story for an idea like what you just said. Would have been awesome to see. What's the story behind the hermit crab? What's going on? Did he gather all these pieces of armor from beasts that he defeated? And yeah, I mean, the creativity and the possibility is just endless. I love the fact that there's not a whole lot of story. We can kind of create these kind of things that we did as little kids. We imagined who's the good guy, who's the bad guy, how do you separate the teams? And that's where the creativity comes from. And then as adults now, we can kind of look back and go, all right, let's design a hermit crab that has bits and pieces from every beast. I'm sure there's a lot of customizers or if they watch this, they're going to start going off of this idea. But that's awesome. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
That's a free idea. It's out there. I like it. And I don't mind to take it. It's so cool. I feel like that's the beauty about Battle Beast. And that's one of the things that I really kind of got. It left me wanting more, because when we did the coverage for Beast Madness, what really kind of like remained afterwards was this very cool catalyst to the imagination, right? They're like, oh, what can all of these beasts do? We talked about, Horny Toad and how he fell to, what was the other reptile? Chameleon. Was it a chameleon that beat? No, it wasn't chameleon.
No, it was
iguana. Yeah, it was iguana. And it's how we can say that iguana actually like collects DNA from different, battle beasts as as he defeats them. Like it's just different things. So it really turned into this bigger story-driven type of world. And the fact that there is no storyline is also kind of cool, because that means that you get to make your own, and it's perfectly correct.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been kind of working on a way to tell the story of my figures, how I can incorporate them into the lore of Battle Beast 2. I'm still working on that. That's kind of like a side project I'm working on. I'll start releasing. I've shown little drawings of little bits and pieces on my page of kind of like telling that story too. So that's something I'm working on. It's not quite there yet, but when it's ready, I'll definitely reveal that. But it's it's fun to tell the story, that to create your own world and explanations of how did the factions form together, who's on what team, and who's got beef with who, and who's friends with who, So that's kind of a fun aspect that you can. It's kind of like when we're kids again, we're inventing our own stories, right?
It is, and it's so cool. Well, go ahead. Or the big last question.
Last question. More like, okay, Max, I know he snuck in his parrot stuff, but you kind of like scaled up a snail to be the size of everybody among the battle beasts. And the way that it was just like clear, it reminded me, it's like, have you considered like one of those water bears?
Oh, the tardigrades.
Yeah.
I think I always thought about like what would have been a cool spin-off line from the Battle Beast to have like microorganism Battle Beast, like there's so many ideas there. And you can even like you could scale, or you can make it even a little shorter just to make it like Transformers, they had different lines and stuff like that. And so a microorganism beast is kind of a cool idea. Yeah, the tardigrade is a fascinating animal. That's the weirdest thing. I didn't even, when I first learned about it, I couldn't believe that was a real thing. The world is so weird. But yeah, it's the tardigrades. Yeah, the water bears. That's a cool idea. I think I
And they
forgot. I
could
think
be
it's
just
gruesome
scaled down like
graphics.
the gumball machine ones. You can even do a
Yeah,
gacha thing
yeah,
for it.
exactly. Like tiny. Yeah, gruesome graphics is an account that might have sketched some microorganisms in the past, and it was really cool to see. I could be wrong, but yeah, the idea of getting animals that are under a microscope, that's really cool to imagine too.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
it's
fascinating.
funny.
Yeah, that's you guys have great ideas.
The funny thing about the tardigrade is that yes, like the moment you learn its name, tardigrade, like you can never forget it. It's so weird. It's
Yeah.
typically biology terms are easy to forget. Tardigrade is one of those things that
Yeah.
just stuck with me. I don't think about him all
But
day.
also, the
But
water bear is a cool name too.
yeah, misleading for sure. I don't know where it comes from, but anyway.
Yeah.
What about axolotl? Axolotl is a good one.
Yeah, that's a design I have in my Series 6. He's in there in my designs. I think on my page, if you look at a Series 6, you'll see a design for the axolotl from Pixel Form. He's a pink. He's pink, and yeah, axolotl is definitely one of the ones that would be really cool to see too. Yeah, it's in queue. It's there's a lot of these designs are in queue. You know, when I decide my next one, I'm usually like saying, all right, where am I at in my experience where I can kind of venture forward and try it out. So
So cool.
But okay, thank you very much for sticking around. We have so many
absolutely,
questions.
yeah.
and
Thank you
there's
for
so much
having
more to
me.
talk about.
And I hope you can join us again. Mostly,
Yeah.
like, let us
Yeah,
know when
yeah,
your
we
next
can,
live is
we'll
going
try
on. If
to-
you want to come and shout it out here, we'll be more than happy to have you.
Yeah, awesome. It's really great to talk with folks who, fellow folks who enjoy this toy line. You know, there's not many of us out there, so it's really fun to chat. And folks that buy my figures too, they'll reach out to me, and we'll just have like, you know, an hour-long conversation just about Battle Beast, and it's fun to chat. So I really appreciate you guys having me. This is actually my first, you know, interview on this project, so it's really cool for me to be here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. We definitely appreciate having you and featuring your work, because I feel like, again, your work is just so special. It stands out. It is a vibrant representation, you know, almost, you know, I spiritual successor of the actual, you know, original line. The DNA is definitely there. And I'm looking forward to see where the project goes from here as in its natural course, right? We're not trying to put any pressure on you, right? It's just a matter of enjoying seeing the process.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Those are very kind words. I really appreciate that. It means a lot. Thank you.
And everyone, don't forget to follow him on Instagram, so you can also keep up to date to any of the figure releases that he does have. And he is at battlebeastredux. Just also, don't forget, he does have a Redbubble. So if you want your Battle Beast fix, as we're waiting for a new drop, you can go ahead and get some of the stickers. I will be picking up the tote sticker pack, so I can go ahead and customize this boring item and put up all that cute little pixelated art that you created. Thank you. I'm like, it's such a challenge to make something that it's so complex into something so detailed and small, which will be the pixels. So I'm really excited to get those down. And I'll be like eyeing your account like a hawk to pick up one of those snails, because I fell in love during this live. And that snail design is just so cute.
It is.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
And considering the fact that snails technically have a chainsaw mouth, that makes it even more like
that's true.
Yeah, more metal, you know. That's so
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, Gary. Any last words before we say goodbye over here?
No, thank you so much to yourself, and thank you for the show. Thank you for everyone who's picked up a figure from me. Really appreciate the support. I'll keep going as long as the interest is there. So thank you so much, everyone.
Okay, see you later.
And Mighty Max Toys, before we go, because I know we've already hit our hour mark, could you please just share one of the last slides? Because we are still in a Transformers
is Gary still in the background, or is he gone?
He's over here in our backstage. Let's see. We'll go ahead.
we should bring him back then.
He can hang out.
Okay, we can just.
Just real quick, if you can pop up the slides. I
Okay,
do
okay,
want to
okay,
shout out
okay.
also one of our friends that's going to be vending at an event. I know we usually do LA, we do US, but this is a Canadian event. It is in British Columbia, and he's currently out there selling. And I do not want to like let our friends down. This is us, a group, but we do share out everything that we're doing. And there we are. Can we please share that? So if you don't know him, I'm pretty sure a lot of people do when they follow Transformers and Transformers reviews. We have Mr. Vangelis over here, and he is out there selling at, I believe it's called the Ultimate Toy Fair in British Columbia. He has a bunch of stuff out there for sale, so please do check him out. If you're in the area, the tickets are literally just like $5 per day, and there's a lot of giveaways and prizes at the door.
Yeah, and this is somebody who also we want to have on the show, but at the moment, let's go ahead and focus on Battle Beast Redux and say thank you one more time for coming on and giving us, a 1 hour an hour plus now of his time. We understand that, when it comes to being a creator, it takes a lot of love and sacrifice, and we really do appreciate and want to, feature as many original creators in this show as possible. So if you have a show or if you have a project that you're working on, you're very passionate about, definitely don't hesitate to send us an email, send us a personal message to our, at Toy Tangents, Mighty Max Toys, or Porcelain Piggy. We are more than happy to discuss and talk about. And maybe sometime in the future we can have you here on the show and we can talk about all these gorgeous things that you're working on. Porcelain Piggy, is there anything else you want to say?
No, that's about it. And we sure had a lot of fun today. Thank you again for coming on Battle Beast Redux. And thank you all for sticking around. And remember, follow him. If you have any questions, reach out to him as well. And we'll see you again next Saturday. Don't forget to follow me at Porcelain Piggy to see what I'm up to this long Memorial Day weekend. And don't forget to follow Mighty Max Toys to see what he's up to as well. Because we're actually going to be meeting later on today. So keep an eye on our gram.
Snail for Beast Madness winner 2025.
That snail's gonna come home with me as soon as that thing is released. It's coming home, so you guys better keep an eye because I'm gonna be sniping that account for that snail. I need it in my life.
All right, with that said, guys, thank you very much for everything. Thank you to our special guest at Battle Beast Redux once again. Don't forget to check him out. Drop a like on his stuff. It is absolutely awesome. And until next weekend, see you.
Bye.
Bye.